What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 66 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms, what we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to be read on the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or just hit us up at Ready Press Play on Twitter and TikTok. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you leave it, please leave us a nice review. This is April 23rd, 2021, and I'm your host, Louis Menchaca, and I'm joined today by my mannequin co-host, Mr. Daniel Lima.
Hello.
I saw what you did there. You almost tripped me up there.
I was just fucking around a little bit. If you don't know what we're talking about, listening on the audio, you can always go and check out the video. I was just trying to distract Louis as he was reading the intro.
It's a good thing that I don't have like our video feed like on a separate screen, so I saw it out the corner of my eye because I was reading the script on the front of me. So I noticed it like at the tail end of it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just do a little ad lib on here at the end. But anyways,
Good one.
Anyways, I like how you're just trying to like amp yourself up a little bit. You know, we gotta like, you know, it's a little late. We've had a long day. You know,
Yeah.
we gotta just
trying to get in the groove.
shoot some espresso into our veins somehow, some way. But speaking of doing the very opposite of that, if you want to just chill and hang out and just sort of like vibe, listen to Ready Play Movies this week. We had an episode 15 drop this week, and it was about stoner comedies. It was about pop movies. And it dropped on 420, and so you know it just sort of worked that way. It just sort of like complete happy accident that happened. It was by far one of our funniest topic of the shows that we've ever done because we were just sort of like in that like 420 mood, kind of like yeah, laughing at our own jokes. You would think that we were like.
Were you guys getting high during the recording?
Personality-wise, you would think we were. Just how we were talking and like giggling constantly throughout topic of the show. It's like you know those pop movies, man, those stoner comedies. They sort of bring that out of you. It's like, oh yeah, that shit was hilarious. You know, yeah.
You know, Louis, we never really talked about this, but I remember you had some kind of. I feel like you had some kind of topic about this on Musing with Menchaca all the way back in the day, or maybe it was just a casual conversation that, like, you know, happened during some other topic or whatever, but. Pot, right? You know, the marijuana,
Yeah.
as some know it. I used to be so like anti that to the point, based on my upbringing, to the point where I would distance myself from people once I learned that either they smoked it or they talked about it or whatever. I was almost like scared of it, and then I moved to California, and I'll end the story right there. I'm joking. I'm not some stoner, but I've definitely become a lot more flexible, and I've definitely changed my perspective on that stuff nowadays. So
yeah, more relaxed. That would be
yeah, more relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need, man. Just a little lax, man. Just kidding, man. But yeah, no, just wanted to plug that. You know, I'll have the link in the show notes as well as the link in the description of this video. And the only other quick housekeeping that I have on the agenda is to talk about the fact that we did some pretty decent numbers with last week's premiere, and I was pretty happy with it. Unfortunately, I had like a social engagement like just get sprung on me, so I was only able to be on the stream for like the first 40 minutes of it, and then I sort of popped in from time to time. So I have another social engagement this Saturday as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna premiere earlier. So at 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific, I'm gonna be premiering this video on the Level 1 Gaming YouTube channel. And for anyone Level 1 Gaming had a lot of subscribers join, so they'll be seeing the thumbnail on their subscription feed. So they got a lot of subscribers join them because of they had Jeff Grubb on the Double XP podcast. So if you guys are new to this, well, welcome to Ready Press Play. So yeah, nice. I think that's pretty much all I got to say. I know, Dan, I know you're a busy guy. You think you can make it this time?
We'll see about that. So the thing, Louis, the problem is that you're choosing to do this thing on Saturdays. And let me tell you something about Saturdays. It is quite literally the only day off I get in my week
Hmm.
because I work and I do a lot of side project type stuff like this from Monday through Friday. And then Sunday is kind of my errands day. Like it starts like I wake up and then we do our stream together that we've been doing now. And then I usually have to, do stuff in the house or do errands or, I've been helping out my sister with some stuff that she's been working on and etc. So I really value having my Saturday to just kind of chill out. But I'll tell you this, if I remember and I don't completely forget about time, if you remind me, if you give me a text when we're like going live, then I'll pop in and I'll have it on or something and I'll chime in if anybody says anything.
Like Dan's a bitch. Like in the ocean, like
But
defends yourself. Like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
no, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
no, but nowadays I really do value my Saturdays. Also, actually, now that this has come up, I just remembered actually the thing I do have going on this Saturday that I had totally forgotten about. I'm getting my first shot of the COVID vaccine, Lewis, this Saturday. So yeah, I finally got to the point where we were able to schedule it around here. Leo was the one that actually scheduled it for both of us. So this Saturday we should be getting, I think it's the Moderna shot, our first shot. So
Okay.
yeah.
You're on the losing team.
Why?
That's
Why is that?
Pfizer all the way, man.
I heard they're basically the same. I heard the other ones are like more different, but I heard between Moderna and Pfizer they're very similar. But I could have gotten
The only
that
thing
wrong.
I know for sure that's the difference is like Moderna, you get your second shot 30 days later, and with Pfizer, you get your second
Okay.
shot 21 days later.
I see. I see. I
So,
see.
I mean,
All
there is
right. So we'll
something.
see.
There's obviously some difference if they have a different timeline for the two shots. I'm about to get my second shot next Friday, so
Hmm.
yeah. So for like by the time episode 68 premieres, I'll be on my way to my second shot.
Cool.
But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. So the games we're playing, I actually
Yeah.
have something to talk about for once. I decided to like go back to Astro's Playroom and actually play some more of it since having like the new TV and also like sort of abandoning it, but actually liking the game. And I have that thing where I abandon games like too easily and stuff, so I want to actually
Yeah.
beat a game. And because Astro's Playroom is such a short game, it should literally be like easier for me to do that, right? To get that platinum. But unfortunately, like even then it's like it feels like I gotta like sort of like just chip at it because I'm so busy. I only had an hour to
Mhm.
myself where I could like where I was like, okay, I can fill in some time here, and that's what I did. I decided to take on one level, and I didn't even finish that one level because like one level is broken up, or one world is breaking up into four levels per like little segments, right? And so I
Mhm.
decided to go to the GPU section of the game. And first off, the soundtrack is fucking hilarious because it's like it sounds like some Daft Punk ass music where like it's got that robotic ass music, and all it's saying is for the lyrics is GPU. Like that's all it's saying is GPU, like on like, and then there's some other words in there, but I can't really discern them, but stuff like that. And it's kind of funny in the far background, you can see like some like uh like speaker box with like a face on it, like like a dead mouse type face. Like it's singing the songs, like singing GPU and stuff like that. It's really good beat. I actually the song kind of slaps. I'm not gonna lie. I'm in this GPU ass jungle, and you're in a monkey suit. You start climbing, and it's pretty cool. It's awesome. I like it. I was trying to go for like the perfect run, trying to get all the collectibles, and like I'm actually not looking them up. So I'm actually trying to like go and actually find the collectibles myself. I almost like relented, and I wanted to use those cards since it is a feature. But you know what? We'll probably use the cards at the end game when I'm trying to go for the platinum. For right now, I just want to sort of play the game naturally and just sort of explore. And yeah, that's
You
uh,
know,
that's what I
you,
got for GPU land.
you just reminded me that I've been meaning to ask you something. So number one, I mean the game is from what I played of it and seen of it, it seems great and it has so much personality to it, and it's so cool that the Sony actually had a pack-in game with the PS5 that shows the features of the console so well, and that it's actually fun, and this love letter to the fans of PlayStation and fans of gaming in general. And it just seems like such a good decision that they did that. Like one of the best things that they could have done really to help with the launch of the console, especially considering the lack of other like like big exclusives coming out for the time being as well. But nonetheless, really cool shit. I wanted to ask you though, since you mentioned the cards system, why do you think overall about the UI of the PS5 and whether you've completely adapted to it already coming from the PS4? Because I heard around the time that the console came out and that I was listening to a lot of impressions online that a lot of people struggled with that because of the differences between the UI and the interface of the PS5 versus the PS4.
Well, it's definitely much simple. I mean, not simpler. Both PS4 and PS5 interfaces are like all about simplicity and very easy to navigate. That's one thing that Xbox doesn't really do well, I guess, because they're like their shit's so complicated you don't even know where to find things. But as far as like the PlayStation 5's interface, like I got pretty comfortable with it pretty quickly. The one thing that I do hate about the interface is how to power it down. Like the PS4
Mm,
has trained me to hold the PlayStation button to get that power options like enter rest mode or power it off. Like you don't holding the button doesn't do anything. So like you have to actually press
mm,
the main menu, get the little dashboard, and then scroll all the way over to power it off. And it's not very intuitive. I would say not well. It's intuitive actually once you figure it out pretty quickly, but it's not very intuitive from the sense of you're already so used to it on PlayStation 4 that they could have just as easily migrated that sensibility because like it just I don't know why they didn't. It seems like a weird design choice, but other than that, I mean, like I've never had any problem with like navigating. But I will say that my nephew didn't know how to pull up the Netflix app because the games and the media are in two separate tabs, and I'm like, you got to tab over. Like he's trying to like in the game section like trying to look for like the apps and stuff because in the PS4 the apps and the games were sort of like intertwined in the same like Rolodex, and where they're in the PS5 they're partitioned, and so I will say that that wasn't really like sort of obvious to him, but it wasn't that difficult for me, so yeah.
fair enough. I just want to disagree. I just want to state that I disagree with your knock on Xbox's interface because I find it really intuitive. Actually, never having really used an Xbox before, I found my way around the Series X almost immediately once I started using it. So
Interesting. I find it
I
pretty
definitely.
cumbersome. I mean, like the
Mhm,
settings, there's settings on settings on settings, and it's just like, yeah, whatever.
mm.
Sometimes I just have to like
Okay.
Google something or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, especially when my nephew wants me to talk him through something, I don't know. I just sort of like finagle until I find something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
uh,
Before we talk about the game we're both playing together,
okay.
unless you got something else here.
I got one other thing to say about Astro's Playroom is that there was two other things that I wanted to say, or one thing really is just Easter eggs. I found Aloy.
Yes. Yes.
I found the reenactment of
Cool. Cool.
Aloy, and found a reenactment of Days Gone, where like there's a bunch of like little astrobots chasing an astrobot in a motorcycle in a circle, and it was hilarious as hell. I also there's also a poem of sorts. I took a screenshot where like you're like as I'm like going through this GPU world and stuff like that. I found like this scripture on these on the writing and stuff like on the wall, and it's talking about how the GPU like I am the GPU and I render everything for any, and it's got some like AABB rhyme scheme going on, and I took a screenshot, and I don't know if they were both the same poem or like because it kind of felt similar, but like it was pretty cool. I
Cool.
liked it. I think that was my first ever screenshot I took on the PS5, to tell you the truth. So, yeah,
There's an Aloy Easter egg on this podcast as well. You can find it somewhere on screen if you're watching us.
yeah, somewhere. And I was, yeah, but that's all I had to say. It's still a good game. I like it, and hopefully I platinum it sooner rather than later.
Cool. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Yeah, I've been kind of in this kick over the last few weeks or even months by now, I think, of just kind of playing random shit and jumping around between a lot of games. I decided, Lewis, and I think I mentioned this on either last week's or a while ago, to buy Fire Emblem Awakening again. I had the game back in the day. I played it, and then I ended up giving it to an ex-girlfriend, which is, one of those decisions that you just regret because then you never get your stuff back. So because of that, and now the game is like worth more basically than I paid then, or at least the same. I ended up paying like I found a version of it for like $45 on eBay. So that's what I got, and then I've been playing through that game again. And all I want to say is that, well, number one, that game's great, still holds up. I still really like it. After playing Three Houses and going back to Awakening, though, it made me realize that they actually made Three Houses a bit easier, and I didn't really process that too much while I was playing Three Houses. But Awakening was the first game that allowed you to pick between casual and classic mode. Classic mode being when your units get killed, you lose them forever, and casual being they come back. And Three Houses had that as well. But when you play on classic, which is what I always do, um,
Flex.
on on Three Houses, if you make a mistake, you can almost like Control Z. You have this like undo feature that they added in where you can undo a certain amount of moves. So it actually makes the game very. Even though it's classic mode, it almost makes it casual just by that alone. Because whenever you make a mistake, you lose a character, something goes wrong, you can just kind of undo your way back and then go from there, like play again from like the last turn or the last few turns or whatever. Versus Awakening doesn't have that feature, and I totally forgot about that. So if you are 25 minutes into a battle and you lose, or one of your characters gets killed, you do need to redo the whole battle, which is not the case in Three Houses. So it was interesting to go back to that and realize, oh, interesting. They did make a they did make some quality of life adjustments that made things easier that I didn't even remember was not in the original, I guess. But anyway, still really good game. I have continued to play through Spiritfarer on my Xbox. That's an Xbox Game Pass game by Thunder Lotus. It's very, very cool game. The more I play it, I think the more I like it. I believe this game was in some people's like kind of like short list for Game of the Year last year. The people that did actually play it, it was kind of one of the indie darlings of last year, or was it last year? That might have been 2019. I can't remember. I can't remember shit anymore. But definitely really good as well. Like it has its moments, and it has a really cool like dialogue, well written dialogue. Lots to do in the game, and I don't know, it's really relaxing as well. It's a good game for you to like sit down and spend time with, and progress the story while also just kind of doing these more trivial um mechanical actions, kind of like the kind of thing you do in Animal Crossing and etc. That aside, continue to play Fortnite. So yeah, just kind of jumping between these three games right now, as well as the game that we've been playing together, Lewis. It Takes Two.
Yes. So every Sunday, twitch.tv/ready press play. You can go and watch us play at Sundays at noon central, or yeah, noon central at 10 a.m. Pacific. And the
Mm-hmm.
VODs are on the Ready Play Network YouTube channel. I'm doing this thing where it's a week after. So like if we're streaming on Sunday, the following Sunday the VOD will go up on the Ready Play Network. So if you want to watch the most recent VOD, you have to go to Ready Press Play's Twitch account and watch it there. Which,
Okay.
yeah, we
All
got
right.
views. We get views actually, surprisingly. So, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, the last stream was pretty good. We had a lot of people pop in and some interact in the chat and etc. It was a pretty positive stream. Nice. It's
yeah, it was
I
definitely
think
up there
there's a
with
lot of
our last year's numbers. Let's say. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, let me just go ahead and just first start off by saying that this game is like is growing on me. It's definitely
Mhm.
feels like it's definitely like it made a good first impression, and now it just sort of like blew it out the water and stuff like that. So many moments that where we're just laughing, and we're getting the references, the Easter eggs, the end jokes and stuff like that. Gameplay is top notch, and it's never you know ideas are constantly being thrown at you and stuff like that, and but you're also not feeling inundated because you're so in the moment and stuff like that. So yeah.
I wanted to bring up something to you, Louis. I even thought that this could be an interesting. I was thinking that it could be an interesting topic of the show to do like an in progress like game of the year discussion kind of thing. Look at the games that have been the best rated games of the year so far. A podcast I listened to, IGN's Game Scoop. They usually do that every 3 months, like every quarter. They do a catch up on game of the year. And I was surprised when I pulled up Metacritic's best rated games of the year so far. And there's a lot of re-releases, games coming to new platforms, games from last year that are now getting PS5 and Series X launches and etc. But if you take that out, the number one best rated game on Metacritic, new 2021 game best rated on Metacritic is It Takes Two. It's that high.
Not
And then
surprised.
after it, we got Mario 3D World, but that's a re-release and etc. We got some Disco Elysium's new version. Then we got Monster Hunter Rise, which that's a fully new game. That's the second one. And then third one is Hitman 3. And those are pretty much the three big games so far in the year. Hitman 3, Monster Hunter Rise, and It Takes Two at the top of it. And I wanted to ask you, like, do you think this game is going to have staying power to maybe be a potential game of the year contender by the end of the year?
Not sure. I
Hmm.
am skeptical with that because, um, well, generally speaking, a lot of the heavy hitters are going to be coming out at the end of the year. So if we're going to talk about, It Takes Two being on the Game of the Year nominees, like next to Horizon Forbidden West or Halo, or
That's true.
like it's gonna be a tough battle. Like maybe it can slot in as the indie game, like because there's usually one token indie game that gets nominated,
Yeah.
but
Would this qualify as an indie game though? Like that's another interesting thing too. This game is published by EA, but it is made by a smaller studio,
who's got more money
which
now
is
this time?
Hazelight.
I would say Hazelight has
Yeah.
got the come ups, with their fidelity
Yeah.
and their voice acting, their better voice acting, I would say. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure. I would hope so. Like
Hmm.
definitely, it's just their best. I think what's interesting is like they're definitely getting better with each game. Like he's
Yeah.
constantly one upping himself and like that. I'm not gonna say it's not like worthy of being up there, but like, is it gonna have that staying power? I mean, I'm already surprised by the staying power it already has right now. Like it's still being
Hmm.
talked about on Twitter. It's still being streamed, and it's still in the conversation.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like once Call of Duty and once the fall starts rolling around, uh, presumably we're just gonna get inundated with just AAA releases. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really cool because I've been following Joseph Ferris's work for longer than I think the most people have, just because I did play Brothers around the time it came out, not too long after. I think a lot of people didn't really discover that game, or didn't really discover Joseph Ferris until way out, many years later and stuff. Or it's now getting to the point where it's like, most people I think had maybe heard of Brothers a little bit, and definitely were familiar with A Way Out, and knew Joseph Ferris as the fuck the Oscars guy from the Game Awards and etc. And I think all of those things contributed to having this game be the one that came out having the most public awareness about it compared to the previous games by Hazelight. And then also, um him getting more budget now, through EA, and after the success of A Way Out and etc. And also experience of him as the director, but also the team to be able to put together something that's much more polished so far, with much tighter gameplay than the games that he's done before. And like we talked about even before this game came out, like, oh, I wonder if this is going to have that kind of jank that A Way Out had, that almost made it like more fun to
yeah,
because we could like joke about it and stuff. And like, this game doesn't. I mean, so far, this game feels like a Nintendo game. This feels like a game that could have come out of, like one of Nintendo's first party studios, and that's saying a lot. I'm just saying that the quality bar is there,
yeah,
Lewis,
yeah,
and the way that the game reinvents itself with each new chapter, with completely different environments and different effects and different mechanics and different level design and different surprises and all the mini games, like, it's it's been like, it makes me think of Mario, like when you go to a new world in Mario, and things feel different. You still got the core mechanics in there, but things feel different. Obviously, this game just does it in its own way, but I'm very impressed so far. And the space level that we're just going through.
And
Oh,
Mario
good.
Galaxy shoutouts. Yeah,
So good. So many fun, like gravity mechanics and, the scaling of the character, going small, going big, and having that affect how you play, how you interact in the levels. The need for collaboration between the two players. You know, one of my,
collaboration.
yeah, collaboration, like the writing, like everything about it is really good. When it comes to, the voice acting even is pretty good as well. um yeah, I don't know, just nothing but love and props to It Takes Two right now. Definitely on the way to be a contender for game of the year on my book, at least.
For
So
sure, I would
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, the game has definitely put a lot of smiles on our faces and stuff like that. Especially when we discovered the Easter eggs. We're not going to ruin it here, obviously, but we
Yeah,
discovered multiple Easter eggs and a lot of callbacks, and we were like, "This is awesome." All right, all right. I guess I'll do the thing. There we go. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and move on to the news. All right. So for the news, we have quite a. It was a busy ass news week this week, I will say. So we have 6 items on the agenda, which is the most we allow ourselves for this show. Um, First up is we haven't actually talked about the NPD. It's been brought to Dan brought this to our attention that we haven't talked about this. So let's go ahead and just say that the March NPD numbers have been released, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is obviously still in the top 10. It reached number 6, and I believe it has the title of the highest selling racing game of all time. So
yep. At
is
least in the United States.
yes, and yes, in the U.S. history, and it says Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe combined. Okay, have passed Mario Kart Wii. What the hell? That doesn't make okay. That I thought Mario Kart Wii would have been like the one that would never have been broken because everyone who owned a Wii basically had Mario Kart Wii. So
I know, but think about it. I think the numbers for Mario Kart Wii were, if I remember correctly, they were in the 30, like in mid 30 millions.
yes, it says
And
here
I
37.38.
Yeah, and the last numbers we got for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch were in the high 20s, I think. And Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, almost literally everybody who had a Wii U had that game. So, yeah, pretty insane, pretty insane.
Yeah, so there's that. And then what else happened here? It says here the PlayStation 5 breaks another huge sales record here. So got an article from IGN that says um, in its first 5 months on the market, the PlayStation 5 became the fastest selling console in U.S. history in both unit and in dollar sales. As revealed by the NPD Group, this news arrives 1 month after the PS5 became okay. Blah blah blah. Despite the new record, the Nintendo Switch has continued its reign as the best-selling hardware platform in both units and dollars during March of 2021. However, the PS5 did rank first in hardware dollar sales in Q1. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting because that the PS5 is the highest selling console when it doesn't exist. So congratulations to that. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I've always been of the opinion that if anyone who is owner of a PS5 is an NPC, so and they're part of the Matrix.
I kind of have a theory about this. I don't know if it really makes sense from a mathematical perspective, but I wonder if the shortage of the PS5 is influencing the PS5 being the best or fastest selling console over a 5-month period. Because wouldn't it be the case? And correct me if I'm wrong, Louis, in a traditional console launch, that everybody who's excited and eager to get the console gets it in its first month or 2 or 3 at the most.
Right?
They get the console, and then after that, usually sales like plummet, but not in a bad way. And then they kind of find their
Level
balance,
off.
find their kind of happy medium, right? So could it be that with the PS5, because there's such a struggle to get it, that has made people that want it more eager to try to get it, and they're trying hard, and they once they have the opportunity, they don't think twice, they go and buy it, and that has stretched, like that desire and that eagerness has stretched over, like not just the launch window of the console, but its first 5 months in the market. Therefore, perhaps I wonder, and this could be wrong, this could not make any sense, but I wonder if in a different universe, where PS5s are readily available for anybody who wants to buy them, if maybe they would be selling less, or they would have sold less per time period.
Not sure. I will say that there is definitely a. I've seen it on Twitter whenever like Wario64 puts out a link for a drop, like, oh, it's on Walmart right now. It's like, oh, it's GameStop has
Hmm.
inventory. So I will say that there's definitely I see everybody just sort of like, oh, trying, let's go, and I don't think that's really let up. So I think part of the reason why it's hit that like milestone is because as soon as drops happen, people are going to like get it. But my thinking is like I'm not entirely sure that the hype cycle is keeping the fervor alive. The fervor's alive because there isn't enough inventory to go around. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So if
Yeah.
anything, my theory would be that the PS5 would have broken the record with a higher margin between
Hmm.
second place and first place if there were more units to go around.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment as well. It's total fair assessment. Do you want to go through the top 20 from the NPD for March?
Yes, that was going to be the next thing I was going to do here. So for this month or for March, the number one game was Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Then number two was Monster Hunter Rise. Number three was Outriders. Benefiting from that Xbox stimulus is what somebody at level one gaming would say. Number four is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which doesn't count digital sales. Number five is Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. And as I stated, number six is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Then Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Number eight has Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number nine has Super Mario 3D All Stars. That's interesting because this is going to, presumably, it's going to just drop completely off of NPD since there should be
Yeah.
no more sales of it in April. We'll see. Number 10 is Minecraft. Number 11 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Mortal Kombat 11. And a re entry into the list at number 15 is Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. Then The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Madden NFL 21, NBA 2K21. And then another re entry, number 19 is Super Mario Party. And finally, number 20 is FIFA 21. So,
Okay, so
yes.
a few interesting things that I want to say here. So you said Outriders benefiting from the Xbox situation. Here's the thing that's interesting about this, and it's been talked about before, I think, by Phil Spencer and other Xbox execs, perhaps. But Outriders was included in the Game Pass subscription day one, right? So people have the ability to get this game, not for free, obviously, but with the subscription. If they already have the subscription, they're getting it included. If they don't, they're able to just subscribe, and there's all sorts of deals to subscribe for, $1 a month or whatever, and check out this game. So traditional thought would maybe indicate that the game would chart poorly because people can get it for free on Game Pass, but instead it's at number 3 on the list, which validates something that Phil Spencer has talked about before, which is that somehow games that are added to Game Pass sell more, even when they're on Game Pass and people can, access them easily through Game Pass. So what do you think about that? Isn't that interesting?
Well, I think it's more of like word of mouth. It's like what
Right.
happens with PS Plus when a game like Rocket League debuts on PS Plus. Everyone's talking about it. It's the hotness and stuff. Everyone needs to get in on it and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So, and especially if you're going to be like, I would hope that you have crossplay. Like Fortnite. And so if you game on PlayStation and stuff like that, and your Xbox friends is like, hey, let's squad up, then that makes
Right, right.
sense. That would benefit you. Plus, for those people that are like not about that life, about for Game Pass for whatever reason, I like it was just really weird. I tried to convince one of my friends to get Game Pass, and they were like, no, like that's like they were like, I want to own my games and stuff like that. Like, how dare you? Like, get this shit out of my face. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So for them, like they would go out and run out and buy um, Outriders if that were going to be something that was really going to be speaking to them. Because if I'm playing it and I'm telling them, hey, it's a good game, let's play together, then of course it's going to just make that that self, what's that thing when it's called, like when it's marketing, like that, like ground level marketing and stuff like that, grassroots marketing kind of thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And the interesting thing is we talk a lot about the value proposition of Game Pass, but it ultimately depends on how many games you're really interested in playing per year, right? Like if you're somebody that will play 3, 4, even potentially 5 games a year, then it might be a better deal to not get Game Pass. I mean, if you're buying 5 games at full price, that will be higher than the price of Game Pass. But then, like you said, you get to own the games forever, so there might still be an advantage there, and maybe you can get them on sales and etc. Right? Um, at the end of the day, Game Pass, if you have Game Pass Ultimate, that is, I think, $180 a year, roughly. So it is like the price of three full price games. So, if you're gonna go through a year where you're gonna play, maybe you're playing Outriders now, and then you're gonna play, Call of Duty by the end of the year, and maybe something else in between, then there's no value in Game Pass for you, right? It makes more sense for people, frankly, like me right now, where I'm enjoying just kind of checking out different games and jumping between different things, and playing Halo with you, and then checking out Spiritfarer, and
and also It
just
Takes Two
yeah.
is on Game Pass as well.
I don't think you're correct, Lewis.
I think my nephew downloaded it. He if EA Play is or EA whatever is part of Game Pass, so he got it and he didn't pay for it. So
Okay.
I'm assuming it is. um, so yeah. Anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next story. This is this is more of like a definitely like a topic of conversation that we may have words. So Days Gone lead says, "Don't complain if there's no sequel if you didn't buy it at full price." It says here on the in the byline or on the under the subtitle says John Garvin also says his departure from Ben Studio was based on personality, not performance. It says the creative director and writer of Days Gone has said that players should buy games at full price if they like them instead of waiting for them to go on sale or be given away as part of services like PlayStation Plus. Should we just stop right there and let's just like, all right, we don't really need to go any further because I feel like
Yeah.
that's like the top that's the topic right there. So,
Yeah.
all right, all right. I have a lot. I'm like the gears are turning in my head here because I'm not gonna lie. There are a lot of games that I like when I knew they came out. I was like, oh, that's coming to play. That's coming to PS Plus. Like I just know it.
Mhm.
I can see that it's a PS Plus game, and so I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm just gonna wait for it to come to PS Plus next year, or even sometimes even in 6 months. Shockingly, and that's an interesting take because if you get it on PS Plus or like with me, like with like the Order 1886 and stuff like that, I only bought it when it went to $20. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like when games are like go on sale and you buy them, you're not real like the developers aren't gonna really, or the developers and publishers or whatever, they're not gonna get like, that's less money entering their pocketbooks, and that's less money to justify a sequel to be greenlit. So that makes sense on their side, but the
Mhm.
consumer is going to do what's best for them. So
Yeah.
it's I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bitch because I will buy games just because I want the franchise to continue. My biggest case in point is I bought Star Fox Zero day one for $60 because I wanted Nintendo to keep on making Star Fox games.
Damn.
So
You can buy for the record, by the way, I know it's been a long time now, but you can buy that game still new on its shrink wrap right now for like $5 or something. It's I bought it recently. I already don't remember how much I spent, but it's not expensive at all. It's one of the rare cases where a Nintendo game is actually dropped in price just because I think the people that have them are just trying to get rid of them.
yeah,
Um, so here's the thing. I am a developer, and I've been, and I am in some ways on the other side of this, and I understand where he's coming from, and what he's saying is he's like the the things he's saying are pretty much facts, right? Like the fact is that a game that is purchased at full price on its release week is going to make more money for the company that developed it and for the company that published it than a game that sells nothing then and then everybody plays once it makes its way to PS Plus or sells a lot when it goes on sale for at cost like months down the road.
Right.
However, that's not it's not he shouldn't do this. He shouldn't I don't agree with his position on basically putting the agency on the players to keep the companies afloat and to keep the companies profitable. Because the player as its own entity and as its own human and person, as a consumer, they should act based on their own best interest to what makes sense to them. And it's the developer's job to provide a value proposition that makes sense to the player to where they want to buy it. And if they don't, then that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Then they just, if players didn't buy your game at full prices because they didn't feel like the game based on reviews, based on videos that they watched, based on word of mouth, based on whatever other reason, they didn't feel like it was worth the money at that point. And I at times do make the point to also buy games at full price when they come out, but it's usually because the studio that's putting that game out is the studio um, that I'm such a big fan of, whose work I adore so much that I'm that eager to play it and to
Support them.
support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that should not be an obligation that's put on me as a player. That's on me to do if that's something I want to do. And I I don't like that kind of wording that I've seen come from developers sometimes where it's like, oh, if you liked us, then you should have done this or whatever. No, man, like the players are going to do what they're going to do, and as a developer, all you can do is put the best value proposition you can out there and hope for the best. If it doesn't work out, it's not your audience's fault. I
Yeah.
don't think you can look at it that way.
Yeah. What's kind of funny is like this guy. I think he was like goes on to be quoting and talking about how like there was also like he's talking about like game piracy and stuff like that, and he's saying like
Mhm.
when people are like downloading this number of downloads for his game, like that's money that's coming out of his pocket, and I think piracy is definitely that's definitely a problem. I would say. I mean, I don't really condone like illegally obtaining a game or whatever, or illegally obtaining entertainment, especially because entertainment is not a necessity. So,
You
um,
know,
but
just let me stop. I hold your thought because
all
I
right,
just want to talk about that for a second. I've talked about piracy before, and I think we should do it as a topic of the show at some point. I do not condone piracy, but I feel like the way people perceive piracy as a problem is a little bit different than the reality of it. And the reason why I say that is because the people that pirated his game, the people that pirated Days Gone and played it, pirated, those are people that would have just never bought it anyway. Like so it's not no money came out of nowhere. Um it's if they had not pirated it, if somehow they figured out a way where the game was not available to be pirated, I guarantee you those people would have just not bought the game and they would have just played another game instead that they could have pirated.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
kind of how I look at it. So I don't really look at it as money lost. I just look at it as like money you didn't make that you would have never made anyway.
There was
Yeah.
also my take on piracy is that its place is definitely I think piracy's place is in video game preservation. I think
Yeah.
piracy does a better job of preserving games than companies do, because when companies are left to their own devices, they're gonna just make business decisions that aren't forward thinking when it comes to preservation. Like see the PlayStation, you know, story that we're about to cover. Um,
Right.
like that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, it's I'm not gonna say I'm gonna just come out and say I don't know. You guys can tweet at me for whatever, but I will go and say that he's not wrong, but he's also not right either. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's not wrong in that sense from his side, but like players, every individual like has their own they vote with their wallets, and what they say isn't necessarily something that I don't know how to like really like articulate this stuff like that. But like when it comes to when it comes to gamers and stuff like that, everyone's gonna buy a game for their own personal reasons, and some people will do it en masse, and some people are gonna wait for a sale because their financials like don't align and stuff like that. People aren't necessarily made
Yeah.
of money and stuff like that. So, but anyways, yes, let's go ahead and move on here and talk about the PlayStation 3 situation yet again. I think this is like our third week in a row of talking about it.
It might. I think it's the fourth. I think it's quite literally the fourth. But yeah.
So the PlayStation Store on PS3 and PS Vita will continue operations. This comes from the PlayStation blog, and it says here that the players will be able to continue to purchase games on PS3 and the PS Vita. It says that basically, I'm going to TLDR this, and it says that the PSP will retire the store still on time as originally stated on July 2nd, but the higher ups at Sony have heard us, and they're gonna change their tune, and they're gonna keep the PS3 and the Vita stores open for the foreseeable future. Maybe that bought us a year, maybe that bought us 2 years, who knows? But basically, my bet is all the people that were running en masse to purchase these PS3 and Vita digital titles now like, oh my God, we just made some revenue. Maybe this justifies the opening or the continued
Oh
operations of these
man.
servers that aren't cheap. You know what I mean? So
I can already see the conspiracy theories forming right there. Um, but anyways, I mean, good news, right? I mean, we talked. I almost don't want to spend more than 5 minutes on this story because we already talked about it so much. Like I said, we talked about it when it was a rumor, then when it got announced, and then I think there was some kind of like revision to it or whatever that we did. Um, Ultimately, I already said that I wanted to go out and buy a lot of the games that were going to get stranded on these platforms. Now that there's only one that I'm going to be doing that with, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm still going to be buying some of the PSP digital games that are available on the Vita, some of the ones that are pretty hard to find or to get otherwise, because those games are going to shoot up in price, and it's going to be really hard to have a functioning PSP and find some of these functioning games physically in a few years. So I'd rather just have them, on my account, on PSN, on my Vita and stuff, for collecting purposes and being able to play them. Shall I ever want to? Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing there. But I don't know. It's like with things like this, it's like I never know how to feel about this kind of stuff. It's like we saw Xbox do a lot of this kind of stuff before, where it's like you go out, you make an announcement, and it comes across like there's a plan in place for this thing that you're going to be doing, and then people have an outcry over it, and then you walk it out back. And on one side it's like, that's great, like why would I ever complain about that, right? Like they made a bad decision, I complained about it, and then now they reverted it.
Xbox
But
with
I
the 120 on the gold, yeah, games
Yeah,
with gold.
exactly.
You
So
know,
so it's great, right? Like you want people to take feedback. That's what you want to happen, really. But there's a part of me that I can't help but feel a little frustrated in the sense of like, man, but why? Like, why in the first place did you do this if you were just gonna walk it back anyway? Because even when I'm angry at a decision, there's a I like to believe that despite the fact that I'm angry about it, that I like to believe that it was thought through, that there's a reason for it, that that they made this decision with the purpose, right? And that they know their business better than I am. But when they do this, then that leads to me to believe that they just don't know shit at all anyway. You know what I mean? Like why were you doing that to begin with? I don't know. But yeah.
well, I will say there's a couple of things. Number one, I think you're wrong about the PSP situation, because the PSP can't access the store. You can't buy digital PSP games on your PSP, but you can
Yeah.
always continue to buy those games on the Vita. Like the PSP games, the catalog isn't going anywhere. You can still buy it on the Vita,
Oh.
and even if you wanted to use a PSP to buy new games, you can buy PSP games on your physical PS3, like actually, your PS3, and then connect your Vita to your PS3, and then port the games over, like transfer them over.
Okay.
So
I was reading this when they were talking about the PSP store closure. I was reading this as like PSP content will no longer be available on any of the stores.
no, no.
Okay.
So you could still
Okay. Fair enough.
that's one of the things that I actually do wanted to talk about is from this story perspective is like I don't mind that the PS3 and the Vita stores get closed. As a matter of fact, they can get closed tomorrow, but my issue is the software. If every piece of
Hmm.
software was playable or compatible on like the PS5, then there's really no love lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I agree with that.
So that's the issue that I take umbrage with is like Sony is not doing their best. They're not looking like they're doing their best to possibly do to like keep the migrating like content forward and stuff like and keeping it alive. So
Yeah,
that's my thing. So hopefully, they solve this when put out a new like PS Vita successor, so that way the handheld games continue to get supported backwards and stuff like that. And as long as the PS3 and the PS1 games that are on in the store get carried over to like the PS5, then boom, we're good, we're gravy. So um,
yeah.
by the way, as a separate side note to this story, and this is like I don't know, I don't think we've actually covered it, but we said it like vaguely last week and stuff like that. But apparently, like it's been discovered that the PS5 has the same ticking time bomb with like it's called like the CMOS battery or whatever. The PS3, the PS4, and the PS5 all have the ticking time bomb where once the battery dies and it's no longer able to connect to the servers once the servers do get shut down and it's not able to validate it, and then physical and digital software will be locked out and not playable. PS3 can still play physical software, but the PS4 and PS5 cannot. And so that's a whole another like can of worms with game preservation. And also, I think Xbox has a similar problem as well. So they're not exempt from it either. So that's a whole other can of worms. I'm just more like going to acknowledge that it's a thing, and other people have probably done that topic better than us. But anything to say on that, Dan?
It sucks.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story. This is coming from the Xbox website. It says here Xbox Cloud Gaming for Windows 10 PC and Apple phones and tablets begins limited beta for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members. So, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that's the headline pretty much kind of sort of like speaks for itself. I don't think I need to TLDR this unless you want me to.
No, no, that's it. So basically, people have been, I think, receiving emails. People that are Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers have been receiving emails saying, "Hey, you've been selected for this beta. Do you want to try this out on iOS?" I believe this is still the browser-based solution that they're doing with Apple because they were not able to come to an agreement when it comes to profit splitting and etc. As for having their own what would you call it, like app, right? And
Mm-hmm.
available for iOS. So that will most likely not be going to be as. I mean, I would be surprised if this worked as good as you would want it to, but maybe it will. Maybe they figured out a way. I feel like if they had not figured out a way to do it at least reasonably well, that they probably wouldn't even be doing it at all. So I'm curious to see how this goes. I definitely think out of all the cloud gaming things that are happening out there, that Xbox is the one that has done it the best because of the way that they've presented it, because of the way that they've communicated about it, the things that they're adding to it, the fact that it's this additive service and not a service by itself. And what I mean by that is like this idea that like I already pay for Game Pass Ultimate, which gives me all these games that I can play on my Xbox and on my PC. Now, if I go on a trip and I have a phone with me, I can pull it up and I can stream, my Assassin's Creed game to my phone so that I can play it from far away while I'm going on my trip. Or I can maybe stream some other game like Fortnite, which is not available on mobile devices right now, or at least not on the Apple side, because I can go in and oh, this new hot skin just came out. I can go in on my phone and then get it and play a little bit and do my dailies or whatever. In this era of live service games, it's all about accessibility, right? Like it's all about accessibility to old games. It's all about accessibility options in games, and it's also all about being able to access your games anywhere, anytime, however you want. So because Xbox has been showcasing xCloud and marketing xCloud as this additional feature to Game Pass. And because it seems to work pretty well as far as the thoughts that I've heard about it, I think this is really good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
don't really have much to add to that either. I mean, um, like I don't think I'm the target demographic for that either. So I'll
Hmm.
just be happy with what I got going on. And I will say, as far as streaming, like the more streaming becomes accessible and put out there, the better the latency, the better the service, all that good stuff, and like better selection, all that stuff. So I think the Google Stadia promise is being delivered by Microsoft.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
All right. Next up, we're going to talk about the Dice Awards, which happened today, the day of recording. It says here that Hades wins Game of the Year at Dice Awards 2021. Finally, yes. Fuck you, Last of Us. All
I feel
right.
like that might have happened at a different award show as well that we talked about, but I it's whatever. I
It
don't
was the
remember it
Brit.
very
Well, I
well.
remember like the British awards. I forgot what they were called. Damn it. Those
The BAFTAs,
the
the
BAFTAs. They
BAFTAs,
had Last
yes.
of Us one,
Yeah.
and then Last of Us one at the Game Awards and stuff like that. It's like
I think BAFTAs had like they had like two Game of the Years where like one of them was like player
voted.
voted or
Yeah,
something Game
yeah.
of the Year. I think that's the one where Hades won. But yeah.
Yeah. So the indie game receives 5 awards, including one in outstanding achievement in game design. It says here the Dice Award organizers of the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences awards Hades with outstanding achievement for game direction, outstanding achievement for game design, outstanding achievement for an independent game, and action game of the year. Ghost of Tsushima won the next most categories, including 4 awards. Adventure Game of the Year. The only other multiple award winner was Half-Life Alyx and The Last of Us 2, each of them with 2 category wins. And so there's a list of winners here, and I'm just gonna just spotlight a couple of things that I see that just kind of sort of pops to mind. I see Fighting Game of the Year, of course, that speaks to me. Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate won. Racing Game of the Year, Mario Kart Live. Okay, that makes sense. RPG Game of the Year is Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which I don't know. Action RPGs, I guess they count. Simulation Game of the Year, Microsoft Flight Simulator, makes sense. Online Game of the Year, Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout. And let's see, Achievement in Character, Spider-Man Miles Morales. I can sort of see that. And oh yeah, here it goes. Here goes a Dan ass game. Outstanding Technical Achievement, Dreams. So,
Yeah,
anything
shout
else
out,
that you
shout
want to
out.
shout out?
Oh, definitely shout out to Dreams for winning that. Because it is pretty impressive technically after, I've gave it a chance and I saw the things that people were able to make with it. No, it's a cool set of awards. There's some variety here compared to some of the other ones that we saw. I mean, a lot of repeats as well, but it seems like for this voting audience that Hades and Ghost of Tsushima were a little bit more popular than some of the other favorites from other awards. I have to say that, I'm always talking about what I wish an award show was like. And I feel like Dice is probably that award show based on the way that they do their categories and the way that they typically do their ceremony. This year was a little bit different, obviously because of the pandemic, and they did a digital format. However, something with award shows, Louis, and I think this one was delayed because of the pandemic, but once they get this late, I feel like interest has
Waned.
waned. Yeah. So, you got, and that made me understand a little bit more. I was thinking about this. I think that's why the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley he is very big on he's very anal about having it happen in December. Like it seems like that's his preference, that he would rather have games kind of miss the cut that released in the calendar year and be eligible for next year so that he can do it in December. And I never quite understood that. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that there's some logic to that, because I feel like when the Game Awards happen in December, they're pretty much the first big award show that we see, right? And then we got, the BAFTAs and GDC and DICE and all the other ones happen after that. And I feel like at each one that happens, or interest, goes down,
But they become more
because
accurate. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, there's actually an argument to that, because there's more time for people who have actually played all the games and look back on it. You know how like
Recency
sometimes
bias
you
isn't as prevalent.
exactly. So there might be some logic there too, but it also ultimately each one has a different board of voters and etc. I'm pretty sure that the dice these are actually game developers that vote on these awards, if I'm not mistaken. So good stuff. I just wanted to say that there is an advantage to going earlier in the year, because at this point I started watching the show and I was like 20 minutes in, and I was like, they were doing some cool stuff with it, and there was like a cool little format, but I was like, oh man, I just can't. I just can't watch another awards show at this point for seeing the same like games that I've seen a million times win awards already, right? Like Hades, Ghost of Tsushima, Animal Crossing, The Last of Us, etc.
I
I've
don't know
already
why.
seen that.
I don't know why Jeff Keighley just can't go in middle of January. It's not like there's any game awards that happen in that time, anyways.
Fair enough. That would probably be a good alternative as well.
Yeah, like
So
Martin
yeah.
Luther King weekend, people are off and stuff like that. People can tune in.
Hmm.
But also, I just wanted to give an anti shout out to The Last of Us. It won Outstanding Achievement in Story. And then this is where I spit.
Absolutely
This is
deserved.
where I spit.
Totally
Just
deserved. What a great story.
uh,
Oh, I love Abby. Abby's so great. Best character.
now I think you're just doing that just to fuck with me. But I will give it this. It did. I agree with the win with Outstanding Achievement in Animation. It won for that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And hell yes, yes, I will recognize that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I
anyways,
know one of the people I work with, actually, you worked on Last of Us animation, but for that game specifically before he came to work with us. And I've talked to him about that. I've given him the props already, because I'm like, dude, that the amount of animations in that game, it's just
yeah,
insane.
it makes
So
Luigi's
yeah.
Mansions 3 blush.
Yeah, which is another excellent example as well. Just very different types of games there. Yeah.
All right, next up. It says here, Jim Ryan says PlayStation has been quietly investing in PS5 exclusive. Sony Interactive Entertainment boss claims that PS5 generation will have more exclusives than before. All right, and it says here, speaking to Nikkei, the PlayStation boss said that the company has been quietly investing in the creation of first-party software, and that it could pursue further M&A. What is that? M&A opportunities to bolster its in-house development capabilities. Quote, we have been quietly but steadily investing in high-quality games for PlayStation, and we will make sure that the PS5 generation will have more dedicated software than ever before, Ryan said. We have repeatedly engaged in mergers and acquisitions. I guess that's what it means, M&A.
Yeah, I was just looking it up.
We have repeatedly engaged in mergers and acquisitions, including Insomniac Games in the U.S. We will not rule out that option in the future. In terms of upcoming exclusives, SIE is currently gearing up to release Housemarque's Returnal on April 30th, and Insomniac's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart in June 2021. So it says here, Guerrilla's Horizon Forbidden West is slated to release in late 2021, and that God of War Ragnarok was announced via a brief teaser last September for release on PS5 this year, although nothing more has been heard of Santa Monica Studios' sequel since. In February, Gran Turismo 7's release date was delayed from this year to 2022 due to COVID-related production challenges experienced by developer Polyphony Digital. Naughty Dog is also reportedly developing a remake of the original Last of Us. PlayStation recently closed its oldest first-party developer, Sony Japan Studio, but Ryan told Nikkei that the company remains committed to the Japanese market. That's your actions say one thing,
Yeah.
and your words say another. Just saying.
Mm.
He said that it's important for us to provide software that fits the Japanese gaming community, and PS5 has included a lot of software from Japanese developers since its early stages. We will continue to strengthen our ties with Japanese developers and release content for PS5 that fits the Japanese market. So, I'm going to go ahead and end it there, but it says here there's a quick little sidebar. There's a new PS5 exclusive AAA multiplayer game in the works from former Destiny developers. That's the headline, and we'll go ahead and leave it at that. But with that said, Dan, okay,
There's multiple.
This falls under like no shit news. Okay, so why did you bring this up?
I disagree. I don't think it falls on no shit news, and I think it's an interesting conversation starter.
Okay.
So number one, the other headline is also something that I've seen a lot around my feed today, about like this new studio that's working on a multiplayer PlayStation PlayStation exclusive. PlayStation is not typically super big on multiplayer games, especially recently, right? They've invested a lot of on single player narrative action adventures. So the idea of them focusing maybe a little bit more on a multiplayer first party game for or a second party game for the PS5 generation is interesting. They could be trying to do something there to compete with the likes of Halo on Xbox side. But that aside, so there's a few different things here that I think are interesting. So he says that they're still very much focusing on the Japanese market, despite the fact that they just closed Sony's Japan studio. I'm beginning, and then he also mentioned studio acquisitions, right? I'm wondering, Lewis, if they're looking at acquiring a Japanese studio to build these games that they're talking about that focus on the Japanese market and that appeal to the Japanese market. Um, so instead of it being like you were saying, like, oh, like they're saying one thing and doing another, maybe they were unhappy with the projects and the products that were coming out of Japan studio, and they closed that studio, which is very sad. We never really dove deep into that story, but but it's pretty sad news because there's a lot of older beloved titles that came out of that studio, and that instead they're gonna go out and buy something like From Software. I don't know, like some other big Japanese, some more modern big Japanese studio that has more pull with the current generation of gamers.
Or just
So first, what
continue,
do you think?
just continue to sign Square Enix with more Japanese exclusives like Final Fantasy and stuff like that.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's an interesting take from there that we can look at as well. But then the other thing is that the thing with Jim Ryan is that he's being questioned a lot recently, and a lot of people, I've heard there's a lot within PlayStation circles that a lot of people in the PlayStation circles don't seem to be really trusting Jim Ryan and his leadership in the same way that they trusted people like Shuhei Yoshida and Sean Layden, Jack Tretton before. Um, and people are concerned that he's focusing too much on just like being the business guy, right? Like playing it safe, making money, maximizing profits, and that he's not the kind of person to really um I don't know, like tailor to gamers like interests to the way that previous execs at Sony would have. So what do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I'm actually 100% with you on that one. I think it's the reason why I say no shit news is because like my first take when reading these headlines is of course he's gonna say, yeah, we're committed to doing what worked on the PS4 generation. It makes sense. Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna continue to invest. That's not news to me. That's like saying Nintendo is committed to making first party games. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But as far as like the undertones behind it, that's where okay, I agree with you there. Like there is definitely a lot of a lot of him. Like I've seen on Twitter that he's being referred to as Don Matrick 2.0, and that is not good company to be compared to. I'll
Yeah.
I'll I'll,
To be
I'll say that. Yeah.
to be fair, I would give him the benefit of the doubt. I think people are jumping the gun a little bit. It feels a little early to make that sort of comparison, right? Like, I don't know. Don't you think so? I feel like it's like we're going a little too far there.
You
um,
know, sometimes hyperbole does it. Sometimes it gets the point across. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Uh,
No, I get that. I get that.
I am not gonna. I'm not gonna lie. The thought has crossed my mind. You know what I mean? Like there's something that's
Hmm.
not. There's something about him that's not. He he doesn't. He hasn't earned my trust yet. I don't know what it is
Hmm.
about him, but there's something that's not genuine. Um,
Yeah,
Even
that's not
whenever we
quite there
see him
yet.
on when we see him on like these the PlayStation like what is it called, State of Plays and stuff like that or whatever. He's not Sean Layden, and he's definitely like not anywhere near that for me.
Hmm.
Hell, even Nintendo executives like Doug Bowser are doing better jobs at being forward facing than he is. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's my take on the situation.
I will say that despite all of that, I don't think PlayStation fans have anything to worry as far as the games and the first party studios go. At least I don't think so far. When we look at the slate for this year, you got Returnal coming out pretty soon. Then you got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart coming out after that. We got Horizon Forbidden West in the horizon, likely coming out in the fall, right? And then we got God of War Ragnarok, which is still slated for 2021. It will most likely come out like early 2022, is what I think most people seem to believe. So that's a hell of a 12 months worth of titles, right? Like they haven't been consistent with the messaging of it being exclusives to the next gen. It comes across like uh, half of these games might come out on the PS4 as well as in addition to the PS5. So there's been some issues with the messaging there, but we're still seeing really good quality, first party content coming out of the studios, and I don't think there's much to get concerned about there. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the next studio acquisition is because he seems to be. I feel like he seems to be hinting at that.
Why not Housemark is what I want to know. I'm surprised that they haven't
Yeah,
just acquired them outright already by now. I would have.
sometimes Louis, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Maybe that's what it is about, right? Like
I
maybe
mean,
they
I
don't
would
feel the
have.
need to.
I would have bought Housemark after Resogun if I was running the show.
Mhm.
So, anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the extra news. Number one, Discord is no longer selling to Microsoft and will remain independent. Yes. Number two, Warner Brothers is planning 4 more Mortal Kombat films if the reboot is a success. And that also falls under no shit news right there. Everyone wants to have a cinematic universe. Number three, Square Enix joins the growing digital E3 2021 roster. Number four, a no VR mod brings Half-Life Alyx to players who can't afford headsets. Number five, Super Mario 64 Plus adds very cool settings and ideas to Nintendo's classic. Number six, Mother 3 gets an updated English patch on its 15th anniversary. Number seven, Overwatch director Jeff Kaplan leaves Blizzard Entertainment. Number eight, The Last of Us series at HBO casts Gabriel Luna as Joel's brother Tommy. Number nine, Nintendo is suing Bowser over Switch hacks. Number 10, Amazon cancels Lord of the Rings game announced 2 years ago. And finally, number 11, Sony is testing a PlayStation video streaming service in Poland. So, Dan, you see these headlines, anything catches your eye?
Few interesting things. So, like Sony with this video service, everybody's been wondering and speculating what is going to be the response to Game Pass, and then they bought Crunchyroll, and now they're doing a video streaming service. I feel like that's the other thing too. Is like Sony has been. I feel like Sony has been focusing a lot on this movie TV initiative, with the Uncharted movie and the Last of Us TV show, then potentially doing a video streaming service, which mind you, they had something like that on the PS4 as well. It was called PlayStation View, and they eventually canceled that, discontinued it. So it's been kind of interesting to see Sony kind of have a new focus on this stuff when they seem to be walking away from it not so long ago. It might be another one of those things that's being helmed by Jim Ryan in some way as well. Um, yeah, so interesting nonetheless. We'll see what that turns out. I don't want any more streaming services really at this point.
What I want to know is this I wonder if this is gonna come to the U.S. and all the other markets and stuff like that. Like if I'm the one creating or imagining this right now, I want PS Plus but for movies. So every month, Sony's gonna put out 2 movies that you can claim and they're yours to keep. You know what I mean? Like your digital Blu-ray of copy of it is yours to I don't know, download
Hmm.
and you can play whenever you want. You know what I mean? I kind of
Interesting.
I like that idea simply because okay, now PS Plus has suddenly become more valuable. Now you can get
Yeah.
library titles you can add to your collection, and then you know what I mean. So
Yeah. That's interesting, if only in the sense that it's completely different than any other video streaming service out there. Like I was thinking they were going to go for something more akin to the typical Netflix, Crunchyroll,
you stream it, yeah.
Disney Plus, etc. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. That would depend 100% on the pricing because I don't like. I only subscribe to a service if there's something there that I want to watch. That would be almost like subscribing to a movie. What are they called? Surprise boxes?
Oh,
No,
like not loot box, but what do you call it? Damn it, I know what you're talking about. Well,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
those
Surprise crates. I don't
yeah,
know. Like I can't.
yeah, crates. Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, I can't think of the name for it. It's almost like doing that because you'd be paying for something that you don't know what you're gonna get every month. Like with PS Plus, it's like you kind of stomach that because you gotta play it, you gotta pay it to play online anyway and get like cloud saves and all these other features. So you just kind of the games are, they are the main drive, but they're also supposed to be extra. Um, with this thing, I don't know, like if they just kind of added it, if it was just a new feature to PS Plus, even if maybe they increased the price of PS Plus a little bit, well, I'd be okay with that.
No, I would be like, just make it part of PS Plus. Don't add the price. Just tack it on, and then there you go. That's how I'm envisioning this. Like, if I'm running this shit right now, I'd be like, let's do that, and then everyone would be like, yay, Zombieland, Venom, But anyways, yeah, that's the Nintendo suing Bowser thing. I think it was like the guy, his name was Gary Bowser, and that's no relation to Doug Bowser. But apparently he
Yeah.
was pirating Nintendo games, and then they sued the hell out of him. I said this on Ready Play Movies because that's like one headline that we both share. The Last of Us casting Gabriel Luna. Gabriel Luna looks like facial feature wise, he looks like he can be related to damn it
Pedro
what's
Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I
I
can
don't.
see that too.
And I loved him as a Ghost Rider when Marvel was Agents of Shield, and he was actually pretty good as the villain in Terminator, Dark Fate, and all that stuff. Which it was a trash movie, but he was good in it.
I just want to say something about this, by the way. I initially saw this headline at IGN, and I looked at the article on IGN, and something I've only found out about recently, Louis, is that the people on IGN comments, like on the actual comments in the website, they're really bitter. Like I feel I used to believe that IGN had like a good positive fan base or something, but I don't think they do. Like it seems like most of the articles that I open now, I go to the comments and I see a lot of people complaining and being mad. When I see the same story covered in other sites, I don't seem to see the same level of vitriol to everything. Um, so yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
All right. But other than that, I will say I don't really have much to say about any other stuff. Like the first two headlines with regard to Discord, I'm like, yay, that's my take. And
Hmm.
with Warner Brothers, the Mortal Kombat movie is really interesting because people are already talking about it. Is that this current Mortal Kombat movie that's about to come out this weekend? Is that it's a prequel. It doesn't even actually have the tournament, like the Mortal Kombat tournament in the movie. It's all
No.
setting up to the tournament. So the sequel is going to have it. So that kind of makes sense that you gotta set the table, which is kind of sucks for a movie. And it's like all you're doing is just setting the groundwork and stuff like that. Which I guess you got to start somewhere. And not everything can just be an Iron Man 1 at the gate. But anyways, with all that being said, let's go ahead and move on. It's time for topic of the show. I like the timing. All right, for topic of the show, we are going to talk about. We're not gonna spend too much time on it, but I kind of want to talk about like our time as, or at least I don't know about you, but at least my time with being classified as a video game collector. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I've been on this journey. You know what I mean? Like one of the things that I will say is like around 2011 when I got my big boy job is like I decided early on that I'm going to go back and collect all the games from my childhood, and then there you go. And it just sort of grew and took off from there. And that's when I became like a game collector is like in 2011, and that's been 10 years actually now that I think about it. And when it came to the the collecting aspect of things, like I realized like when I have my first good job and I got this good income, and then I have all this money, this disposable income to like go towards like building out my collection and stuff like that. It's kind of how do I put it? It's kind of it came with its own set of problems. Like number one, my collection got so big that I had to make a spreadsheet so I can like remember what I have because I started buying games that I already owned, and I came home. I was like, all right, time to like put it in the shelf where you belong, and it's right there. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and then I got to go back to the store and refund it and all that stuff. It also came with the problem of not having enough time to play everything. As much as I like collecting them, I actually would prefer to play them all, but there's not enough time in the world. It's
Hmm.
that's like it's easier to classify myself as a collector, so that way I don't have to feel guilty about buying a game and never playing it. So,
Hmm.
but yeah. Anyways, I've been rambling. What are your thoughts on video game collecting?
No, you're good, Lewis. You aren't rambling. So it's interesting, right? I always had a little bit of a collecting. Um, I don't want to call it an addiction, but some tendencies towards it. Like where I felt like if I could very easily get into collecting anything to a in a bad way. And when I was younger, I used to love like these like sticker books that are really popular in Brazil, but I don't think they're as popular here. Where you buy the book, and then it has all these like spaces where you're supposed to put in the stickers, and then you buy all the stickers and you collect them and you put them where they go. And you buy them in booster packs, so they're like whenever you collect things through booster packs, they always work in the same way where the more you collect, the more you have, the harder it is to get the ones you don't have, right? And then you got to go and trade them or buy them piecemeal and etc. And I always enjoyed doing that, and I always enjoyed like collecting things in general. Like I've when I was a kid, I've collected certain like toy lines and stuff, but none of that stuff really has really made its way too far into my life. At some point, that kind of stayed behind. The only thing that I still collect in that way is that I do collect whenever there's a World Cup every 4 years, they do an official sticker album for the World Cup, a sticker book for the World Cup, and I collect those like every World Cup. So at least for the last three ones, I think I have a full complete book, which is something I enjoy having as a memory of it. Getting into games though, I always just bought games when I wanted to buy them, either because I wanted to play them or I was like, oh, this is a good deal. I'll play it eventually or whatever. Um, and I think that's the healthiest way to buy games, right? Just buy them when you want them. And it wasn't until early last year in 2020 that I started looking some stuff up and I started like watching videos about people that have these huge video game collections and have everything like organized and cataloged, and I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff too. And I kind of thought to myself like, man, I kind of want to do that, but I kind of want to have a reasonable easy starting point. So for that reason, my reasonable, easy starting point wasn't like I'm gonna buy every new game at full price when it comes out, and it also wasn't kind of the polar opposite, which is I'm gonna find the rarest, oldest like NES games or whatever. I want to buy that. I decided to start right in the middle of those two things to me, which is basically the generation of games that I grew up with for most of the time, which was the PS3, 360, and Wii generation of games. And that's where I started. So I just started buying a bunch of those games. A lot of them you can see behind me now, actually. I already had it, like I already had a bunch. So to me, it was more like I'm completing it, right? Like I felt like that's why it felt so achievable. I was like, I already have like 50% of like the PS3 games I want. So I'm just gonna complete that. And also it's the cheapest,
Yeah.
like at the moment I started at least, it was the cheapest time frame of games to collect.
Yeah, that
So
bell
that's
curve
why.
with prices and stuff like that. You
Hmm.
bought low. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. So now I've been rambling for a while. So I'm gonna give it back to you, but I have other places I can take this as well.
Well, like for me, like it sort of became one of those kind of situations where like it was definitely slow. Like I didn't go like buck wild and crazy and stuff when I started buying games. I sort of paced myself, and I did this thing where like there's this company called Movie Trading Company, and they sell used games and stuff like that. They're like a national chain, or at least a pretty sizable chain. And what they would I ended up like trying to like get like my hustle on with them because they would have all the best games. They would have like in this. They have like the shelves with all the games and stuff like out there, and then they would have all the good shit like in a glass locked. In that glass shelf thing, and stuff like that. We have to get the key in the
Hmm.
back and slide that door, and then reach in there and grab it and stuff. So with me, like I would always go straight to where the glass case is at and look at what they got, like as far as their best, creme de la creme. And what I would do is I would go there and I would buy on only on like holiday weekends like Easter or like 4th of July. I would only go then because they would have like a buy two get one free deal going on. So like if I bought like uh, you know three used games and they're charging like $50 to $60 because they're like the more priced games and stuff like that, whether it be Super Nintendo or
Right.
whatever. I would try to like get like the three most expensive games that I can find that are worth a damn, and then they would like and if they were like like parity with each other with price, then I felt like I would get the most value. Means like if I were to get
Hmm.
like three games that were like worth $200 and stuff like that, but I got it for like 120 on sale, then I felt like I came out on top. Even though I spent like over $100, it felt like it was like nice because like I got this cool good copy of like Brave Fencer Musashi or something like that, which that's a whole nother story right there because I bought Brave Fencer Musashi from them on a sale like that. And and after I checked out, when the guy at the cash register was ringing me up, he told me, "Oh, look at that! It's a sealed copy." And I'm like, "Fuck!"
How
And
much
I'm
is
like
that
looking
worth
at,
now?
I don't even know. Like I bought it
Hmm.
for like $70 because of my little tricks and stuff like that. But they were selling it for 100. When I looked at it and I saw the official seal on there, and I'm like, "Oh my god! I wanted to play this game." And now I couldn't. Now I'd still have it sealed because I know that if I break the seal, I'll devalue it, and I can't do it. And I'm like, but anyways, as far as like the whole system and play, like I don't even go to a movie trading company anymore because now they don't even have inventory that I even care about. Like I kept on going
Hmm.
during sale weekends, and towards the end of my little run and stuff like that, I was buying sales of games for like $20 a piece, where it's like three games for $60, and then like buy two get one free, $40 all
Hmm.
three games. And it got to the point where I was buying games that were like $9.99 and stuff like that. Like they were just I was scraping the bottom of the barrel of games that I wanted. And now I don't even bother. Like when I get my text alerts like, "Hey, we're having a buy one get one free day here," and I'm like, I don't care because like you're not gonna impress me anymore. That's where I'm at with my game collection.
Yeah.
um,
I
but
feel like
well, I was gonna say one last thing to fill it out is just to say that towards the end, I started getting even more methodical and crazy, and I started buying boxes and manuals for like NES and Super NES games on eBay.
mm, I see, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have this thing too where obviously, I'm not collecting games that old yet, but for the things that I'm collecting, I also want to have everything complete in box with everything that it came with. And there's been a few instances where I bought things that were not in that state, but then I do have it in the back of my head that once I'm done buying all the games, then I'm gonna start pursuing like the manuals and etc. And there's something that's very exciting about getting those deals that you were talking about, and it's like there's something psychological about it. And the interesting thing about this is that there's a reason why I said, like, in the beginning, where I kind of insinuated that this is maybe not healthy, um because I kind of believe that, but it's also fun, right? So it's like it's just one of those few things that I currently allow myself to indulge in from time to time, just like the thrill of like the to me it's like the thrill of like the eBay auction, right? Of like figuring out this game that you want that is worth like $70, but like trying to get it for under that, and then also trying to beat other people in the auction and being the one that gets it for the good deal and etc. So I'm just kind of starting to dabble into that. I feel like I'm still pretty early in my adventures into collecting video games. And I've been finding some resources recently that can be pretty useful for this stuff. So like one of them is the site. It's called, I think it's Video Game Price Chart. VGPC. You're probably familiar with this, Lewis. Yeah, it's pricecharting.com. But in this site, you can basically track your collection and will tell you the value of your collection of the games that you already own. But you can also wish list stuff, and you can see like the basically like the general price, like how much something is worth, whether it's loose, complete in box, or new. And it allows you to get a general idea of how much games are worth, so that if you go like, oh, like I see you, maybe you're strolling through a GameStop, like now I've been getting into the habit of doing from time to time. You see a game for $10 there, you go like, huh, I wonder how much that looks like something that would be worth more. You can quickly look it up in the site, and then it will tell you like, hey, like this typically goes for 20, right? What are
Oh my
you
god.
smiling at, Lewis?
I've looked up Earthbound. I have a complete in box copy of Earthbound, and it sells for 1,500. I'm like, oh my god! I bought it for
Wow.
600 back when I got it.
Damn.
And so
Yeah.
now it's like
So
that's crazy. I honestly thought it would never go up, and I was like, okay, 600, I'll
mhm.
pay the full price, and that's how much it was paid like going for at the time. And it's crazy to think that I still valued it at 600, and now it's actually over doubled.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing that I found with this as well, which is kind of concerning for people that want to get into this, and for me, is that games never reach a point where they can't go further up in price. They can always go up. They can always go up. And I don't think they typically go down. They'll go down like, well, they go down like after they come out, right? So a game comes out, throughout the next few months and then years, it will go down to a certain point, and then it will reach a point where it can't go further down than that. And then from that point on, it starts going up. It will either like stay there forever. If a game like Madden 2014 will just stay there forever, but then for other games, they'll like start going up with time, and they just won't necessarily ever stop going up once that starts, because with time they're going to become more and more rare. Even people that do own them, maybe at some point the copy won't work anymore, they're going to have to buy a new one, and then there's less available to be sold.
Oh,
um
my sealed copy of Brave Fencer Musashi is looking like it's only going to go for 150. Eh,
okay, that's not oh, good enough, more than you paid for it,
double
right?
double what I paid for, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I found out through the site. I have this I keep thinking it's over. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I have Pokemon Heart Gold version, like complete in box. And then this guy, it has the Pokewalker and everything. And then this guy is worth over $200 right now, I think, as well. Yeah,
Surprisingly.
so it's interesting. The Pokemon games go up in price a lot. The Fire Emblem games have gone up in price a lot. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn on the Wii, that game's worth like $100 now if you have a working complete copy of it. And yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff on that site just looking at the prices. So right now I'm trying to keep it like within like reasonable. I need to feel like I can achieve what I set out to do. So I made a list of all the games I want first, by the way, and then I've been slowly working through the list since last year. I don't go crazy with it. There was a whole time frame of multiple months where I didn't buy a single game. Recently, I bought some more, and I'm just kind of slowly ticking the boxes. And that's the next. I know you said you didn't want to be on this topic too long, but I want to do a little bit more here.
Okay.
So I made a list of the games I wanted, and I want to talk about what the decision process is like. But then I want to ask you first, like what determines to you whether a game is a game that you want to collect or not?
Um, well, there's two. There's I only go like, but I only have two things. Number one, is it personal to me? Like, does it mean something to me? So I got a game
Mm-hmm.
that means nothing to no one. It was called like it's like Wile E. Coyote, like Death Valley Rally or something like that. It's for the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Very obscure. No one's ever heard of it. It was like I found it for like $3, and I'm like, there it
Mm-hmm.
is. So there's that one. And the second criteria is it a popular game? Is it something that like either reviewed well or like a lot of people liked and stuff like that. So I'm not into the Pikmin games. I'm not into the Animal Crossing games, but they're popular, so I get them. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So there's a type of collector out there where they want to get everything, right? Where it's about like oh, I want to have. I saw a video of this guy who has like every Wii game ever
Oh
released.
yeah, I know those guys.
Uh,
I'm not into that.
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
complete, yeah,
yes, like the completionist off
yeah,
a platform, right?
yeah.
And that's something that I'm not interested in at all, because when we really think about it, I mean, like if you own every Wii game ever released, there's like a coolness factor to that, but really you're just filling up like a whole wall of your house, 90% of which is just garbage, right? It's not necessarily, I don't mean as in garbage, but it's shovelware, right? Like it's games that, are probably not even rare, right? Or hard to get, and they're just kind of like out there. So for me, it's been also like the personal side, like you did, like you mentioned. So it's actually very similar. So I like games that I've had a personal attachment to that I don't own anymore. I would look into buying again. But even more than that, I'm trying to think of like for each platform that I'm deciding to collect for, I'm trying to think of like which were the games that defined this platform, right? Like which were the games that with the power of hindsight looking back, like were like the best games of the platform, the ones that started franchises that became big later on, perhaps, or new entries in franchises that are big, that are popular, that were critically well received. And then also though, I'm also trying to look for like hidden gems. Like, what were some of the games that came out on this platform and they maybe did not make a splash, but that the people that did play them are like, man, that fucking game is great. Like that was the best game ever. So I'm trying to look for some of those as well. And then also I'm keeping an eye for games that are just rare. But I don't think I would ever buy a game that was rare that is garbage just for the sake that it's rare.
Yeah.
Um, but but I would buy it if it's like, oh, that game was good-ish and it's rare, then maybe I would buy it. And a good example of that actually is at this point, I consider my PS3 collection effectively done, almost done. I own pretty much every major big PS3 game that ever came out. When it comes to third parties, that is not necessarily the case because with a lot of the third parties, I've decided to get them on Xbox instead because they're backwards compatible and I can play them on the Series X. Um, but pretty much all the big first party or even second party, all the big third party exclusives that came out on the PS3, I own at this point, with perhaps some rare exceptions. And I also own a bunch of third party games anyway. I own like all the Assassin's Creed games, for instance, that came out on the platform and some other things. Um, and then there's this one game that I've been looking for that I want to buy, but as the collector, you always have that thing. I need to buy it in a good deal. I need to get a good deal on it,
Okay.
which is a game called Folklore. It's this weird like PS3 like hidden gem where it was one of the first games to come out on the PS3. I think it was Japanese developed. And it hasn't gotten to the point where it's like extremely rare, but it is a game that's kind of rare. Like you don't find it that easily. People will put it up on eBay for auctions from time to time, but then everybody tries to go in the auction and ends up going like kind of high in price. Or somebody will just outbid me at the end or something. So I have not gotten this one yet, but that's like the one PS3 game pretty much that I'm eyeing right now that I don't have. And when that's the case, then I will consider my PS3 collection effectively complete. And I really want to have that feeling, that like completeness feeling. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then and then I'll move on to focusing on the next platform or whatever. And I do think that at some point I will get to like the Super Nintendo and everything else. And my biggest concern there is I wonder if I'm going to be too late.
I don't
For
know.
real.
Super
Yeah.
Nintendo has only gone up in price and stuff like that. There is like
Mhm.
this like curve and stuff like that where like once certain people become of certain age and stuff like that, then they are effectively like the market. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we might see now. This is pure speculation. We might see Super Nintendo prices come down in price because they, you know, all like the old farts have like aged out, and now the 20 somethings are no longer in the market to buy Super Nintendo games. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
but by the way, as far as an example of a game that's rare but reviewed poorly and it sucks, there's a game for the Wii U called Devil's Third. I like.
Oh, dude. Yes, that game is worth so much money now.
Yeah, it's super rare because it was a low print run, but it's a terrible game. It's a shitty game. Nobody liked it. So it's kind of funny that eBay was like were already people were like eBay listing and stuff when it first printed and stuff like that. It's like, oh, you can get in, but whatever. I don't care. But yeah, there was something else I wanted to say about this topic. Damn, I can't. I'm having a brain fart. I just had it in my head, but whatever. I guess it was a fleeting thought. Um,
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the a YouTube channel that I found out recently you watch as well that covers a lot of stuff related to this, which is Spawn Wave. which I know that's where you got some of your information from. This app called Offer Up is an app for just kind of buying and selling things around your neighborhood. You can see things that people around you, like your city, really have been announcing, and you can make an offer and then go and pick it up from their house and stuff. And it's I was using it for other things. Like I was using it for trying to sell some like furniture and just house stuff that I had. And I was able to sell a few things. And then I found out that a lot of people list video games there as well. And when you're collecting, what you're always really trying to find is you're trying to find the people that don't know what they have, right? Like
Yes.
you're trying to find the people that are selling something for $10 because they don't know that it's really worth 100 or whatever.
Yes. Oh
And
my
I've
God.
I found a few interesting things on OfferUp before, and it's usually comes in bundles. Like people will be like, "Oh, I'm selling all my 360 games or whatever, or all my PS3 games," and then they have like a pile of 20 games, and you go through it, and they're selling it for like $50, and you go through it, and you're like, "That game right there alone is worth $70 on eBay," So sometimes you got to find you got to kind of go off the beaten path a little bit to find these things because people are way too smart on eBay at this point. Like that's what
Yes.
I've learned as well. Like with the actual stuff that's a little bit more rare, people know what they're doing.
Yes, you remembered what I wanted to say, by the way, to cap off this topic. Number one,
Cool.
I had a boss that he got a GameCube component cables for like $10 because the person on Craigslist didn't know what it was worth. Because I don't know if you know this, but component cables are hella fucking expensive. They're like at least $300, if not more. Uh, but
Really?
but now
Damn.
now I'm pretty sure they're not as valuable. I don't know if they are because at the time whenever he got them, there was no such thing as an HDMI adapter for the GameCube, but now they exist. But
Hmm.
anyways, so there was that. But also I was also noticing that flea markets, they are now becoming
Mm.
harder to find. Like people, what I find is that people at flea markets and stuff like that, especially around like 2010, they started wising up to realizing what they have, and now they start like pricing them out competitively, or like not competitively, like those like YouTube videos and stuff like that. People talk about like, oh, flea market finds and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I found this for $5 and stuff like that. Those don't exist anymore. That's bullshit. Like that's kind of sucks. And then secondly, I have never personally ever, nor do I think I will. I don't think I'm ever gonna buy a lot. Well, a lot being like like what you described, a stack of games and stuff like that. Oh, $20 for the whole bag. I'm like, no, no, I don't. I can't do that. I don't like having multiples. So, yeah.
Wait,
Uh,
wait, 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 wait. Okay, I know you want to end the talk. I just got to stop you there for a second. All right. So if there's a game. Let's say there's a game that you want to get
hmm.
that you can't find anywhere, right?
Okay.
Like, and it's worth like $100 or something. If you have the opportunity to buy a lot of 10 games that includes that game you want for less than the price that it's worth, you wouldn't buy it?
I think I would, honestly,
Okay,
but
because you can just throw
I've
the rest
never,
away.
I've never gone out of my way to search for a lot on eBay or Craigslist or whatever. So
Mhm.
those deals have never come to my radar. But if I know what it's valued and stuff, like I'm gonna like be like a viper and just strike. Um,
Okay, cool. Just wanted to confirm that.
yeah. And then of course, just when it comes to like the rest, I would just probably sell it. Just go to movie trading company and just get credit, get in-store credit or something like
Right.
that. All right. With that being said, let's see here. What is the next topic? I need to go to the doc and stuff because I don't even know which one to. Is it your turn? Oh, it's your turn
Yeah, it's
to.
my turn.
It's your turn to take over the show. Okay. All right. Let's do this.
All right, sounds good.
What are you buying?
Let's go through our new releases here for this week. Not a big week. We only got 4 new releases coming out, some of which are just re-releases on new platforms. But we're going to start looking at Judgment that's coming out on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Stadia on April 23rd. The legal suspense thriller returns from the creators of the Yakuza series. The action-packed suspense thriller is back on a new generation of hardware, featuring refined visuals, smooth 60 FPS gameplay, and all previously released DLC. This is the definitive release of the award-winning title from Yuga Kotoko Studios. Gonna leave it there. Then we also got this game that has this terribly long, impossible to remember name from the Nier series. Nier Replicant version 1.224744874139. Coming out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC on April 23rd. A 1,000-year lie that would live on for eternity. Nier Replicant version, fuck you, is an updated version of Nier Replicant, originally released in Japan in April 2010. Discover the one-of-a-kind prequel of the critically acclaimed masterpiece Nier Automata. Nier Automata. Now with a modern upgrade, experience masterfully refined visuals, a fascinating storyline, and more. The protagonist is a kind young man living in a remote village. In order to save his sister Yona, who fell terminally ill to the Black Scrawl, he sets out with Grimoire Wise, a strange talking tome, to search for the sealed verses. Experience the Nier Replicant story for the first time in the West through the eyes of the protagonist as brother. Genshin Impact is coming to the PS5 on April 28th. I didn't put a blurb for that because we talked about that game before here. And Total War Rome Remastered is coming out on PC on April 29th.
All right.
So what do you think, Louis?
There is no pick of the week for the very first time ever.
I will say this: the ones that I put the blurbs for, Nier Replicant and Judgment, I've heard good things about. So those are probably good games to look at if you're interested in this kind of stuff. I would honestly refuse to buy that Nier Replicant game though, just because of the title. I think that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit right there.
I know Nier Automata, everyone was hyped for that. So I guess that one might get pick of the week because it's Nier. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
All right, so we're gonna go through our cheap and free games of the week here on our Broke Gamers Guide. Let's start by looking at the Epic Game Store, the free games that are going to be available right now on the Epic Game Store. Alien Isolation is free now until April 29th, and for the same time frame, Hand of Fate 2 will be free as well. Let's take a quick look at both of these games. Also, for next week, it seems like Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms will be the free game. Alien Isolation, I own that game on the PS3. Discover the true meaning of fear in Alien Isolation, a survival horror set in an atmosphere of constant dread and mortal danger, created using the Cathode engine. And then as far as Hand of Fate 2 goes, a new hero rises to challenge the dealer in Hand of Fate 2. Master a living board game of infinitely replayable quests, unlock new cards, build your adventure, then defeat your foes in brutal real-time combat. Yeah, looking pretty cool. Here's a reminder. Horizon Zero Dawn is free on PS4 and PS5 as of right now, as of earlier this week, actually, as part of the Play at Home initiative. So if you want to play Horizon Zero Dawn, go and pick that up for free. We're also getting a lot of free updates being issued by Rockstar for LA Noire and Max Payne 3 on PC. Basically, all the DLC for those two games is free right now. So if you're a player of LA Noire or Max Payne 3 on PC, who knows, maybe even got one of those games for free through the Epic Game Store or something before, then you can go and get all the DLC for now. This is kind of more of a news story, but I thought it was kind of appropriate to mention here anyway. As of this week, Xbox Live is officially dropping the subscription requirement for free-to-play games. So we covered the story before, as in they announced that they're gonna do that. Well, that's finally in play now. So if you have a Live Gold subscription to play your free-to-play games, then you no longer need that, and you're gonna be able to play games like Fortnite just with your regular subscription. And then as far as the deals in the storefronts go, the spring sales are continuing to go on pretty much all the storefronts. I picked a few deals to highlight here today, because we already talked about the spring sales before. These deals in particular are for PlayStation. And the main reason for that is because I feel like with the Xbox, because most of the relevant big cool Xbox games are on Game Pass anyway, I feel like that's the deal there. There's usually not, much of a deal that's worth shouting otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and give a shout to Dreams. That's currently just $13, $12.99 on the PlayStation Store. I also want to give a shout out to Batman Arkham Knight Premium Edition, which is $10, discounted down from 40. I mean, you can typically find this game for cheap nowadays, but still $10. If you haven't played it yet, here's the special edition with additional content for just $10. And then there's one more that I forgot to put the link on the doc, but that I want to look up here real quick and find. But Mortal Kombat 11, Louis, It's having a pretty good sale right now as well. Um, at least this one, ah, God, I hate the freaking PlayStation store sometimes, like to find what you want. But they have a bundle of it's like Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate Edition with everything that it came with, and it also includes Injustice 2. Um, and I think it was like $40. So I wanted to give that one a shout out too. But that one is like multiple pages down, so I'm looking for it right now. And the search function didn't really help me.
uh, it's okay.
Do
It's
you want
okay.
to do you want to fill time?
Sure,
Do you
sure,
have
sure.
anything to say?
Just gonna go out and go back to the Epic Game Store because apparently, when it comes to the free games, it says here that allegedly next week's free games are gonna be Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, and yeah, that looks interesting to say the least. It kind of almost looks like what is that? Just from this art style, it reminds me of Brawlhalla, but I could be completely wrong. But just looking at that cover art, oh my god, this is nothing like Brawlhalla. But I'm looking at these screenshots and yeah, just totally not even remotely that. So okay, that's that. Over
I
to you,
th-
Dan.
I yeah, I threw in the link if you want to pull it up there. But yeah, so Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate plus Injustice 2 Legendary Edition bundle for PS4 and PS5 typically retails for $100, currently $40 on the PSN. So I thought that seemed like an unusual like big savings kind of deal where you get a lot of stuff. You got a lot of bang for your buck there, I think. So wanted to give that one a shout out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and do that one segment that we've neglected.
We keep going so long on this show, Louis, every time.
That's
I'm
music to my
surprised.
ears, man.
Yeah, yeah.
That is probably a sound effect that no video watcher has actually heard us play.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's absolutely true.
Oh my god. So yeah, for all you video watchers, sharing the love. A segment that we've used to do like on a frequent regular basis is a segment where we talk about a game that we grew up with and we just sort of like to just regale you guys with the story. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, it's my turn first off, but I actually don't have a game to talk about. I have a series, and so I'm just gonna sort of
Okay.
like do it all in one go. Simply because like I don't think I have enough to tell one story, you know. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do sharing the love specifically today because, Friday when this podcast drops on audio feeds, it's relevant. Saturday, obviously, again because it's still the weekend. It's opening weekend for the Mortal Kombat movie. So I want to do
Oh,
a
there
sharing
we
the love
go.
for Mortal Kombat the series.
Appropriate. Appropriate.
So it all starts with the Super Nintendo and when and Mortal Kombat One. It's the shittier version of Mortal Kombat One because there's no blood. They like turn the blood into sweat. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that. Uh,
No, that's the one I really played. That's like my biggest experience with Mortal Kombat was actually in the Super Nintendo when I was like 5. but but still, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, surprisingly, I actually did like play that a lot. Like whenever I got into my game collecting and stuff like that. Like back in 2011, I went back and got the Sega Genesis and like started buying those games, and I actually got pretty good at it and stuff. Like just because, and when I play my friends or my brothers and stuff like that, I would whoop their ass. And But really, the one that I grew up with was Mortal Kombat 3. Um,
Mhm.
and that was whenever like when my cousin was like forced to give up his Sega Genesis, he gave it to me. I got like a bundle of like his Genesis, his controllers, and all his games. And the one game was Mortal Kombat 3. And what was really great about Mortal Kombat 3 is like it had like I had like I had a piece of paper which I still have where I wrote down every code and every like cheat code and like easy fatalities, and you can unlock Galaga within the game cart. It's like you can play it. I actually used to like in elementary school, like when I would wake up in the mornings and stuff like that, I would actually wake up extra early just so I can play Mortal Kombat 3 on the Genesis. Like I remember, like getting ready as part of my like getting ready to go to school routine is like go to Mortal Kombat. Try to like do like one of those ladders and stuff like that where you have to pick like the three ladders, and like one's longer than the other. I remember like a lot growing up and stuff like that where my mom would call like Mortal Kombat the devil. It was like I was like, oh, it's the devil and stuff like that. Like I don't know, like if you ever had like that situation where you grew up in a super religious household and stuff like that. Like Harry Potter's the devil. It's like that. Like I got like that Bobby Boucher like water boy like complex about that. It was like my mama says that's the devil. That girls are the
My
devil.
parents are not like really those kinds of people. My grandparents were a little bit more, but the one thing that made its way to me in some way actually was Yu-Gi-Oh. Like when I was growing up, that's the one that people were I remember being older people being pretty scared about. Cause and to be fair, like I almost believed it then, like as a kid. I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. I actually like it, the fact that people around me, some of the older people in my family around me kept saying that, Yu-Gi-Oh was the devil and that the cards were cursed and that kind of stuff. It actually made me not really want to play Yu-Gi-Oh. And it's like I would play with my friends with like their cards and stuff, but I didn't really buy cards of my own because I was scared.
Yeah. I
So,
remember like when I was like spending the night at my cousin's house a lot, like I would stay up really, really late playing video games, and then my aunt would try to tell me that like that if if you stay up too late and stuff like that, a witch will come and snatch you or whatever, like that kind of stuff, just to
yeah.
like get me to like go to sleep at a reasonable time or whatever like that. So, but yeah, the Mortal Kombat was definitely one of those situations where like. Um, the games did get like better with each sequel, obviously with like one for the original trilogy. Like the games are very very basic and they're not very well balanced. As a matter of fact, when I played Mortal Kombat 2 like a couple of years ago, when my friend was starting to get into like collecting, and he got like a Super Nintendo cartridge of Mortal Kombat 2. We decided to play a couple of rounds and stuff like that, and like I was whooping his ass, of course, because I'm the fighting game guy. But then there was this one game where he was actually he was catching on and actually learning, and he started fighting, and the he did this thing. I did this cheap thing where like I started spamming like the kick. What is it? The sweep, like the leg sweep and stuff like that. And if you spam it, you can just basically constantly be in an animation loop of you're just constantly falling and tripping, and you can't get out. But you can get out. But he didn't know that. You can with Mortal Kombat, you actually have to press a block button. There's actual you don't press back like in Street Fighter to block. You
Hmm.
actually have to press the block button. If he'd have just pressed it, he would have gotten out of it. But I just basically like he was about to win. I'm like, oh no, you're not. And so I started sweeping, constantly sweeping him until he like basically died from almost full bar to none. And I was like, I took that win just because. And what's really interesting about that whole situation is that he was like, man, this game, and like but I will say that the combo system got better. I would say Mortal Kombat 3 had that cool thing where you had there was a run button, and you could actually start like I had memorized how to like do like every perfect like little combo when from run to attack, and then also I memorized so many fatalities. They had cool ass fatalities. Um, yeah, I think the only really thing I can say is I told the story before in the past in a previous podcast, and I don't remember which one. It might have been like a DLC. But one random ass Christmas day, we were playing Mortal Kombat X or Mortal Kombat 10, and my mom sat and watched us play, like me and my brothers play, and she like just had like was laughing out loud watching us do fatalities and X-ray combos on each other, and she thought it was hilarious. And I was like, Mom, you used to call this the devil. So yeah, Mortal Kombat was is really great. It's a good series. I had fun. I haven't been able. I haven't played Mortal Kombat 11 like almost at all. Just because like with COVID having happened, I don't have my friends come over, and that was part of the rotation, and never really got to truly experience like the DLCs or anything like that. But I'm more of like I like to play fighting games with someone and not like solo.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's my love for the Mortal Kombat series. It definitely is on its stride right now. There was a middle point where like Mortal Kombat 4 and Mortal Kombat Gold and all those other ones were pretty sus. I even tried Mortal Kombat 4 on like the Dreamcast. Terrible game. Like, and Deadly Alliance is
Is
cool.
is Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat X actually the 10th installment in the series?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, like Mortal Kombat,
because
like the reboot was 9.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember around the time that so when did 10 come out?
I want to say 2015, 2014, somewhere in there.
Okay, okay. So I remember when 9 came out actually, and that they started like posting the videos and with the fatalities and stuff like that online and etc. And at that point, I kind of missed. This happened with a lot of different franchises in my life where like I played it up to a point and then I missed everything in between, and then I saw like the modern version. Um, but the way I remember Mortal Kombat was still like the kind of old school like Super Nintendo look of that Mortal Kombat used to have. And then I remember seeing those 3D like at the time hyper realistic gruesome fatalities from Mortal Kombat 9 online. It actually turned me off from the game, I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like I'm more desensitized now, but at the time I wasn't as desensitized as I am now to like video game violence. And that at that point, even though I was like, I would never be like an anti-violence in video games kind of person or whatever, but at that point, I almost felt like that was like crossing a line to me. I was like, oh man, this is like going really far. Cause like with Mortal Kombat, it's like people have referred to it this way before. It's almost like it's porn in a way, like it's kind of like torture porn with the fatalities where it's like it's almost like they're figuring out like, okay, in which ways can we have somebody's body like break down and get ripped apart and like and it's kind of disgusting. I don't know, like, so like I had a hard time, like I feel like nowadays like I've seen enough of these videos and um even played enough of it to where like I don't care anymore and I've gotten desensitized. But like at that point, like even though I was like as I was a teenager, I was like, I don't know, like 18 or something. I was put off by it.
Wow, that's kind of
Yeah.
crazy because I always like laughed. I always like and just like clap my fans and laugh. I think Mortal Kombat X has the best fatalities by like bar none.
Hmm.
I'm not impressed with Mortal Kombat 11. I kind of felt like they took a step back when it came to the fatalities. But the gameplay itself, like the fighting mechanics and stuff, like the meters are way better done. And like so, fighting better, but fatalities that's what I come for, worse. So
Hmm.
you can't have it all, I guess.
And you
uh,
forgot to give a shout out to one of the best Mortal Kombat games, which is Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
you know what's kind of funny is I had a friend who has it, and I actually played it at his house once, and I actually liked it. When first impressions, it makes a good first impression, but it's actually not a good
Hmm.
game. It has the worst fatalities like ever, and like it's just everything's
Yeah.
completely neutered in that game.
Yeah, it's because it's like a PG-13 game. Like it's teen. It's rated teen. Yeah, I don't know. Like the game, obviously, it's if you play Mortal Kombat for the crazy, violent, gory fatalities, then you definitely don't get that. But that aside, like, isn't the gameplay roughly the same? Like to me, it felt like it was roughly the same
Yeah,
gameplay.
it's roughly the same. It was actually pretty
Yeah.
good. It's pretty solid. It's got these
Hmm.
interesting mechanics where, like, when you're being like, hit like midway through or stuff like that, you got to do like this guessing game. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it had some stuff, and also the story wasn't that half bad either. I actually kind of liked it. If you watch like the YouTube movie
Yeah.
of it, it's actually pretty cool. Um, some good funny writing and stuff like that, especially with Batman. But of course, you really can't fuck up Batman. So, yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. I just wanted to share love to the Mortal Kombat
Cool.
series, and it's definitely had a bad like transition from 2D to 3D, but it's sort of now hit its stride ever since Mortal Kombat 9 with the reboot. It's been like operating in all cylinders. I would say like the classics trilogy, as much as I love it and stuff like that. It is very clunky. It's not a very good like well designed fighting game. But it definitely it has its roots because like one of the things that about Mortal Kombat is it doesn't have the same command inputs like Street Fighter. Street Fighter sort of like made it the template that every fighting game needs to like do, you know, quarter circle forward for a Hadouken and all that stuff. Mortal Kombat was really not like that. It's like let's do like a little bit more. Let's do our own thing. And even to this day, as far as like command inputs, it's basically that same style
Hmm.
that they kind of sort of
Hmm.
like set for themselves, and that's good for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and call it. Not gonna lie, that ending song does not work for Mortal Kombat. And we're talking about like gruesome ass blood shit, and then like dun, dun,
True.
dun, dun.
True. True.
All right, it is time to end. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember, you can reach the podcast at ReadyPlayNetwork.com or simply at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. I'm on Twitter at Chakalaka88 and Dan.
At the Dan Lima.
Good job, good job. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends about the show, and all that good stuff. Peace.
See ya.